Final Fantasy 16 and Final Fantasy 7 could be coming out on Xbox and being announced for it sooner rather than later. The rumors are ramping up for these games. Xbox is giving more options to UK gamers as to where they can actually go and get their Xbox fixed. Avowed, the marketing is ramping up. They're doing a lot around this game. It seems like they're going all out for it. So I don't think we can really use that as an excuse if it doesn't do well. The marketing, I don't think, will be one of the reasons. E3's back, which is phenomenal. It's back in a different way, but this could be the beginning of something bigger going forward. And we have a bunch of information, release dates for big games, as well as some announcements or some leaks of a big IP coming back in a AAA environment. So that is very, very cool. We have all that plus many other things. But if it is your first time here and you do enjoy daily gaming news and content, make sure to hit that subscribe, share the video, all of that stuff. Half of you who watch are not subscribed, so I would appreciate it if you would help the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button. And let's jump into it. Let's talk about Final Fantasy 16 as well as Final Fantasy 7 Remake and Rebirth. We've been hearing so much about these games coming over to Xbox. People were expecting these announcements already. They haven't happened yet. We know Square Enix is going full multi-platform. They even broke a single player Final Fantasy record when it did launch on Steam for the amount of concurrent players. So they're celebrating now that they're going to be out of those deals with PlayStation and they can go full multi-platform and continue to get more people to jump into those games. So you can pretty much bet these games are coming over to Xbox and probably coming over to the Nintendo Switch too. And it looks like these rumors are ramping up here as we have this information via WCCF Tech, as well as Reset Era and Nate Drake, or Nate the Hate, who has been correct on many rumors before, whether you agree with him or not. He has gotten a lot of stuff right. But he says this when it comes to the future of the Final Fantasy games and when they will be landing. He did prove and know precisely when the Nintendo Switch 2 would get officially revealed last month. But he says here that Final Fantasy 7 will soon be announced for Xbox consoles and will be released around mid first half of the year, so around spring. And then Final Fantasy 7 Remake will also be released on Xbox consoles later this year and Rebirth next year. And the Xbox release of all three games will be announced at the same time for maximum impact, again, according to Nate the Hate. But what is interesting here is that he believes that the Nintendo Switch 2 owners will not get the chance here to play these games, as they have obviously prioritized to bring it to the Xbox. So very interesting stuff there, because the reality is you look at the Nintendo Switch 2 and it's going to sell very well, more likely than not. There's tons of Nintendo Switch owners that are going to transfer over to the Nintendo Switch 2. So it's a huge market that you would think they would want to have it involved within their multi-platform strategy. I think the thing holding this back is that if you look at Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, it did not perform very well technically on the PlayStation consoles. So going over to the PC was a big upgrade. So maybe they know already, I'm sure they do, the specs of the Nintendo Switch 2, and they looked at if they're going to be able to optimize this thing in any way for the Nintendo Switch 2, and even a game like Final Fantasy 7 Remake potentially will not be able to be optimized for that platform. So that would be interesting. I honestly, though, wouldn't be surprised if in the future they do find a way to get it out on that console to get more sales and have the game with you on the go. I think it would do very, very well. But if you're an Xbox fan, it looks like we're getting the announcement relatively soon. I think that's a very good thing, and it just adds to the overall year we already have here at Xbox. From all of their first party stuff, now you're adding in these Final Fantasy games, the newer ones that they have put out, and you're going to add that into your catalog. Is going to be just so many games that people are going to want to jump into and play. 2025 is shaping up to be just an absolutely insane year when it comes to the amount of games available on the Xbox platform, first party, and then now we're finally getting some of these third party games that weren't there previously because they were money had to buy PlayStation. Now, if you have an Xbox Series X and you want to get this thing fixed and you don't want to send it into Xbox, or maybe there's a long queue or something like that, there's now going to be more options here if you are living in the UK, as the UK retailer Currys will now be able to repair Xbox consoles. We have this here that the tech retailer has become the region's only Xbox authorized service provider, meaning it has partnered with Microsoft to offer official repairs of the video game systems. The Currys will repair Xbox consoles both in and out of warranty, and Xbox players can get their console repaired at any Curry store regardless of where they originally purchased them. And I think this is always good. I mean, and the reality is the more options you have for any of this stuff is always better than only having to go to Microsoft to get this thing fixed. I know from my experience with my Xboxes that have ever broken down, it's been very few and far in between. Actually, with the Xbox One, I never had any issues. Even with the Xbox 360, I still have my OG 360, which is crazy to think about when that had like a 50% failure rate. But with the Xbox Series X, within the first week, my Series X was overheating and shutting off, specifically with NBA 2K for some reason, but I don't know if that was a console issue or if that was the game issue. Looking into that further, could have just been the game because that was happening to a lot of people, but I decided I'm not taking any chances. And right at the launch of the Series X, I sent it back to Xbox and I got a new one within like 3 days of when I had sent it in. So the repair services at Xbox are very, very good, whether they just send you a brand new Xbox or not. The return services and everything is very well done. So I've never had an issue with that, but having more options here for people if they don't want to go to Xbox or their Xbox is out of warranty, of course, you can go to a different store closer and local is always good. Now, Avowed, we talked about it yesterday, 60 FPS, which is going to be a very good thing for the launch of the game itself. We've seen so much about this game. It looks phenomenal. They've been doing lots of marketing with it, lots of gameplay videos. You've had Carrie Patel come out multiple times to talk about the game and have some of those big questions that have been wanting to be asked answered about like the characters and the dialogue and just the overall adventure. The marketing for Avowed has also been ramping up, as we have seen at Times Square. They bought out this huge screen with a really cool ad, and it's not stopping there. Aaron Greenberg put this out. And these ads are huge. These are in Hollywood. It looks very cool. I think it's very well done. The one thing with Avowed, you have to say here is that the artwork is so good that you want to market this everywhere. This will catch people's eyes. This isn't something someone's going to walk by and not notice. And these are the billboards that have been put out here for Avowed. It says, here are some work in progress shots of our massive out-of-home billboards going up in Hollywood. It's going to be an unmissable quartet billboard that will show 4 different ways to forge your destiny in Avowed. So very cool stuff here. You can see it says Avowed, Forge Your Destiny, Xbox Game Studios on the bottom left, and then Obsidian on the bottom right. And obviously it's showing the different characters and classes and stuff that you can play. This is big. People are going to walk by and see this, probably ask questions if they're not in the know when it comes to gaming and when it comes to Xbox games as to what game this is. And this is an Xbox Game Studios game, so should they go out and buy an Xbox to get it? All of that type of stuff. So great stuff there from the marketing side of things, which is not something you hear a lot of in general when it comes to Xbox. That's been one of the biggest gripes for a lot of people is why aren't they marketing their games? What's going on here with the overall marketing of the brand and that type of stuff? I mean, there was the whole controversy of this is an Xbox campaign that came out a few weeks ago and people were losing their minds over that. Although when you take a step back and think about Xbox's strategy, it's actually a pretty good marketing campaign, but I don't think they're missing the mark here when it comes to Avowed. All right, E3 was canceled. It's been taken over by the Keeleys, the Jeff Keighley show with the Summer Games Fest and everything. And although I think his show is fine if you just want game announcements and everything, and they have some big announcements that do occur at that show, I miss E3. I miss having the separate showcases. I miss the whole hype around it. I've always wanted to go. I never was able to go before they shut it down. I was getting into the time of my life where I was maybe going to be able to afford to go. And then they closed it because of the pandemic and everything. And now I'll never have another chance until potentially now going forward that they may be bringing this back in a different form. And I feel like this could be the beginning of something that expands out to become bigger, where it eventually turns into what E3 was. But this is called the Icon event. This is via E3. It's organized by the ESA and they have launched this. And here is what it is. It says it's the Entertainment Software Association. They have announced the Interactive Innovation Conference, or ICON for short, and it is a thought leader summit where it's aimed to connect visionaries, thought leaders, and innovators from across industries to harness the power of interactive entertainment. And it will take place in Las Vegas between April 27th to 30th. And they say, according to the ESA, the event will be attended by leaders from Nintendo, Microsoft, Sony, Amazon Games, Disney, Electronic Arts, Epic Games, Square Enix, Take-Two Interactive, Ubisoft, and Warner Brothers, amongst others. So yes, it doesn't have the E3 name. It doesn't specifically say it is just for video games. However, it is bringing together some of the biggest names in video games and some of the biggest publishers. In fact, what the aim of this show is for, they do say it is for film, TV, music, sports, healthcare, education, and finance in an attempt to find ways to interact with interactive media so these other sectors can converge. And they say the Entertainment Software Association and its members are companies among innovators and leaders shaping the future of culture, business, and human connection. It's a natural role of VSA to host and support an event that fosters an open exchange of new ideas with our peer industry leaders. Icon is bringing together changemakers from across industries to envision how the strengths of the interactive entertainment industry can break entirely new ground. So yes, I get it. It's not something completely focused on video games. However, when you're bringing together the biggest names in video games, eventually it could expand out to where they're really focusing on some new stuff coming out, and maybe they open up another show that focuses only on new games in the future and everything. But it is from the same people who organize E3, and this thing may be back. I think the more options and conferences out there, the better it is. The more games you get to see, the more experiences you get to have, even if it's smaller games at certain shows. I think all of this is good. So it's cool to see here that they are bringing back some sort of event. All right, let's talk about game announcements coming out this year, big games that are dropping. We have a lot of information here. Nothing officially confirmed, but it is looking pretty close to confirm with a lot of this stuff. Metal Gear Solid Delta. We know this game's coming out this year. It's going to be one of the biggest games of 2025. And now we have the release date that seemingly showed up on the PlayStation Store listing. So it says here that the PlayStation Store listing was updated, and it has now the date of August 28th as the release date. And it's also confirmed by a new trailer that is currently only available on the PlayStation Store. And the trailer is now out in the wild, so it shouldn't take much longer for it to be released on YouTube, and the release date should be officially confirmed. So I don't believe as of the time I'm filming this video, they've actually come out and said that this is the release date, but it looks pretty big here as they put it onto the PlayStation Store, and then they're going to put it out officially on their social channels and everything eventually with August 28th, unless that date is just a placeholder and it's a mistake at this point. It looks like August 28th is when this game is going to be released. What's interesting about this one here is this is one that's been advertised mainly at the Xbox showcases, and then they're showing up first here on the PlayStation Store in terms of the actual date. So we'll see what happens if there is another show in the future, another announcement, how this is all going to go down when they do announce the official date for Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. The other game here that is going to be coming out relatively soon, it does seem like, is Death Stranding 2 on the beach. And the reason I say relatively soon is because it got a rating from the Koreans rating board hinting at its imminent launch. It says here that Death Stranding 2 on the beach has just received official rating from the South Korean GRAC or GRAC, the Game Rating and Administration Committee, and the game has been vetoed for minors with the following summary of its content, and it goes over everything that they don't want minors seeing from playing this game. This tells me this game is close. We're going to get a release date soon, and it's going to be out this year at some point. So I wonder if this is coinciding with the rumors that we have been seeing that PlayStation is having a showcase in February, and this will be one of those big games at that showcase. The biggest question about the showcase is, will we see any new first-party content from PlayStation? With the canceled games right now, I'm going to lean towards no. If you would have asked me this at the end of 2024, I would have thought the first show in 2025 for PlayStation was just going to be massive and huge with all of their first-party content. But unfortunately, with the amount that they've canceled, I just don't see it happening. Hopefully, I'm surprised, though. Hopefully, it is a great show with a lot of first-party stuff. And then we also have this here. This is just a quick little one. Call of Duty, Terminator coming together. They put out this tweet: don't even try. He can't be bargained with. The T-800 is coming to Call of Duty Warzone and Black Ops 6. You see Arnold there running around. So the skin is coming if you're a fan of Terminator. Very cool stuff. They have some really cool collaborations, Call of Duty and other franchises that are out there. And then quickly, I'll just jump over to this one. There is a rumor here for a new AAA Castlevania title that is going to be announced in 2025. I'm thinking Lords of the Shadow style, third person 3D style of Castlevania game. If they are going AAA, that would be very cool. I would love to see this come back. If you go back right now and play the Lords of the Shadows game, if you can get it in like 4K and stuff, the game's very polished. It looks very, very good. They're fun games. They're cool. I don't know, it didn't do great commercially, but I've enjoyed them, and I will probably go back and play them again at some point. So I feel like that's what they would be doing if it's a AAA Castlevania game, because of the amount it would cost to make the game itself. Will probably put it into the AAA category. All right, now let's jump over here. Let's talk an acquisition. Paradox Interactive has acquired Jagged Alliance 3 studio, Hamimont Games. I don't know too much about this studio, Hamimont Games specifically, but this is an acquisition that has occurred here in the industry. It says the Swedish publisher says it has signed a binding agreement to acquire all shares of Hamimont, making it a wholly owned subsidiary. And according to Paradox, the Bulgarian studio staff and leadership will remain intact, and its ongoing projects will remain in development. And this studio here was founded in 1997 and specializes in simulation and city building games, but most recently developed the critically acclaimed Jagged Alliance 3 with a scored 81 on Metacritic. I don't know really anything about that game. I don't really know much about the studio itself as well, but that is an acquisition that's happening. That's actually some of the good news, or I guess if you're thinking about potentially a studio shutting down or something bad happening to it, but then it being picked up by another company to keep it alive, because we have seen so many layoffs and closures and everything throughout the year. And even yesterday, we had a bunch more announcements for this. There's actually three layoffs in total, actually, that happened yesterday. 3 rounds of layoffs from 3 different companies. First of all, Bandai Namco has laid off almost 120 of their developers since last spring. And High Res Studios, which is Smite and Realm Royale, has laid off 30 developers this week. So everyone is going through it in the industry. It is pretty wild. And then you also have PlayStation here, which I didn't really see too many people talking about, and maybe it's because it hasn't officially been announced yet, but this is here from Hazard Gaming. He, I guess, found this post here. It says more layoffs across PlayStation software department, and this is via this person here, Ryosuke, on Mastodon, and he says, most of my team was just laid off from PlayStation. It was a dream to get to work with Sony on the platform I'd grown up playing since the PS1 and contribute to the PS5, PS Portal, PSVR 2, PS App, and future consoles. If you know anyone who needs an engineer, experience native console UI, feel free to reach out. It doesn't seem like it's been covered very much, this layoff, maybe because it has not official yet, or maybe this is a previous thing, who knows, or maybe this is just something that will come up into the news later, and we'll see more exactly why this happened and where specifically it came from. But just more layoffs. It isn't a good thing. It is not, never a good thing to see people losing their jobs like this, especially in the industry recently, which has been having a lot of layoffs go across it. No one's safe, pretty much, from what we have seen so far. And finally, the Joy-Cons on the Nintendo Switch are very interesting because of the mouse feature. Everyone's wondering, how does this work? What's it going to be used for? Is this strictly going to be for like first-person shooters or RTS games or something? Or is there going to be a bunch of gimmicky stuff that Nintendo puts out specifically for this feature? I think there will be, but we have some more information here, some patents that illustrate how the functionality of this mouse is going to work with your Nintendo Switch. You can kind of see just some pictures here exactly how it does work. This is the person just holding the Joy-Con itself, and then obviously holding it here like a mouse, the thumb on the joystick, and then your 2 fingers on like your right and left click. So basically just like mouse. I wonder if that joystick thing is maybe functioning somewhat as like a scroll button, or when you click the scroll button, I wonder if it'll function as something for the mouse itself, or is that just kind of where you rest your thumb? Who knows? And you can see it here as well as I'm going through and illustrating how exactly you're going to be able to use this. Obviously, you can use both as mouses, which is super cool, which that leads me to believe if you can use both, there's going to be a lot of stuff that they're going to be able to bring out of this multiplayer with it. So there's probably going to be some Nintendo multiplayer games where you're moving your Joy-Con across the table or whatever. or there's going to be games where you have to have both Joy-Cons in your hands and they function as a mouse. So lots to look forward to here when it comes to the Switch 2 and exactly how those Joy-Cons will function. I'm sure in April when we get their direct, they'll give us pretty much all the information on that. But I'm going to end it there, guys. I appreciate all the support. I appreciate everybody watching. Thank you, and I will catch you in the next video.